Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two co-hosts. I am Adele, and I used to serve the third district of the city of Fayetteville in North Carolina on the Fayetteville City Council, and the illustrious, the super magnificent, the ever so gracious Elmer Floyd, who used to serve the 43rd district in the state of North Carolina, the House of the state of North Carolina. No, what? No.
You're not gonna swell my head up, Tisha. I mean, it's cold outside, and it might bust. So
It
you
is
won't be.
it's getting very cold. It is
You won't.
really getting very cold.
So you won't swell my head this morning. Okay.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm just telling the truth. I mean, hey, the truth is the truth, and we just let the truth be the truth. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Doing
So we are pre-recording. It is a little abnormal. It is 7:46 p.m. in the evening, but we wanted to make sure because I've got some stuff going on tomorrow. I'm going on a date. So we wanted to make sure that we had our podcast laid out because we love our viewers and we wanted to make sure that we keep our content flowing. Thanksgiving, we will be enjoying Thanksgiving with our families. Thanksgiving always falls on a Thursday. We recommend that you all find someone to enjoy Thanksgiving with as well, be it friend or family. Mr. Floyd, I'm not gonna take you up this year, you and your wife, on that one Cornish hen. Okay, I'm a pass
fine.
this year and let somebody else have my piece of skin that would have been reserved.
I
Um,
really, I really, because you and others got it confused. I said a Cornish hen, not eight. So I had a
but I
tactic.
always, yeah, and I always appreciate. Mr. Floyd, I'm sitting in my little space and I'm looking over at these muscadine containers that I've got to get back to you. And I'm just telling you, I bless God vines. I thank God for that.
No problem. No
I
problem. And
thank
that's what
God.
people have to do for Thanksgiving. If they have the time, volunteer. At places that are providing food for the homeless.
Absolutely.
If you don't have anything to do, no family around, do that.
I remember last Thanksgiving asking Ted where he was going to be because I was like, you can come and spend the holiday with me and my family. And he was like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to go and, hand out dinners. And like he had a whole thing. So yeah, there was
Yeah.
that. I am, yeah, I'm gonna be with family. I think the holidays are definitely a time for giving to others and for spending with your family and your friends. You care about. And if you like, it's certainly a great day to be introspective and reflect. But whatever you do Thanksgiving, just make sure you give thanks because even if it's bad, it's okay. It's still okay. Some people have been through some horrific things and they managed to still find something to give thanks for. So, Mr. Floyd, that's my 2 cents about the holidays coming up. We'll get into the gritty in the city in just a little bit, but you are always so good about making sure that our community stays abreast of what our announcements are. What are our announcements, Mr. Floyd? And I'm going to grab my
Well,
charger and plug up my laptop while you tell our announcements.
my alma mater was not successful this year in winning the CIAA championship.
But they
Uh,
but they did a good
in
job.
2110, yeah, 2110, their record was 8-3, and they was zero. They 4-0 at home. So, but when I was in college, everyone had a win when they played Fairfield State. So, we went to the game just to see our classmates. Uh, you know, those that gone, went away and came back. Now you can't, when you go to the game, you don't want to miss it.
Right.
But when I was there, you know, everyone said if I play Fairfield State, we gotta win.
Yeah.
You see,
But now it's
now
now it's a game.
football field is beautiful, laid out. The chancellor box is beautiful. There has been a lot of improvement from when I was at the institution.
Absolutely.
Remarkable.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's a game now. And when people are going, they're interested in the athleticism of it and not just the social aspect. So that's pretty doggone good, if I must say so
It's
myself. That's a
changed.
come up.
It's changed. you know. And I also teach. our superintendent won the state superintendent of the year based on this innovation.
So
So
congratulations to Marvin Connolly. Congratulations. I like him. I'm gonna have to shoot him a text and congratulate him. That's all
yeah,
right.
we'll do that, and also uh, if you don't, Spring Lake. It's surprising how they said it would take 7.5 years for Spring Lake to come out of where they were.
And
Now
it's been
18
what,
months.
a year and a
Yeah,
half?
about 18 months. The 18 months. They got
Yeah.
they got $11 million. I mean, that's
And Mr. Floyd,
good man.
people who are not familiar with what we're talking about, Spring Lake went through an audit. They ended up, where the state of North Carolina essentially had to come in and say, we've got to step in because their books were just all operating in the past. They had to get out the red and get into the black. And it was reported that it would take 7 years for the town of Spring Lake to make that progress. But through good leadership and through good decision making, they have done so in 18 months.
Now, bear in mind now, leadership.
Right.
That's
Makes all the difference.
that's
It
the
makes
key
all
thing.
the difference.
You can't hire a custodian and want him to lead and be a finance director.
Absolutely. You need to
Not
have, and this is, and it's a testament to the management of the town. So the town manager had to step in and really, pull the reins back. And they had to work hand in hand with the state of North Carolina to really be able to make this reality come to pass as quickly as they did. So kudos to the town of Spring Lake. Kudos to the leadership in Spring Lake. Congratulations to the newly elected board and the re-elected board. Congratulations. You guys keep doing great work because I think that, that's awesome because when it's bad, we tell you it's bad. But hey, when it's good, we want to let you know it's good. So
it's
good
new.
job, Spring Lake. Way to go. Mr.
It's new.
Floyd, as we're talking about audits, I did notice that the state auditor decided to step down. Beth Woods decided that she was going to step down from her position. Do you think that that had anything to do with that little pesky car accident that Beth Woods found herself having?
Well, it probably gave her some consideration in recruiting her
Absolutely.
bid, statewide. And when you look at statewide position, if she probably would have remained in there, and it just so happens that the Democrats don't do well in statewide election, and that
Right.
is a statewide election. So it probably would gave her some baggage there. So you
Right.
know, uh, it's best to step down, than to let someone that's going to drag your name through the mud.
Absolutely. But it's
And how
interesting because do you remember when her resignation becomes effective?
I'm not sure. I think is it this month? I mean, is it December?
I think
I,
it was sometime very soon. I think it was before her term expired, right?
yeah, yes,
So now
yes.
who will appoint her successor?
The governor.
So that opportunity to get a Democrat in there as her successor, and then they'll have the opportunity to run incumbency.
But I think her deputy is going to run.
Okay.
I believe that might be, case. But I'm sure there are going to be additional Democrats, and there are a few Republicans that already
Who will be
announced that
stepping
they
up to the
want
plate. How do you think that this is going to affect how do you think that this will affect the lawsuit that the sheriff's office had against the auditor's
it
office?
won't have any effect. It won't have any effect. It will
Okay.
still move through the process.
Okay.
It will still
Well,
process.
listen, I'm not mad at it. I guess we just have to see how it plays out. I mean, you cannot be out here drinking and driving and have an accident and get in trouble and then leave the scene and you can hold these prestigious positions because you lose your credibility. I think that I'm glad that she made the decision to step down.
It's
I hope
unfortunate.
that
It's
and I hope career is not in the future negatively impacted whereby she because everybody does things that they probably wish they hadn't and you want them to be able to move. So certainly when the public puts their confidence in you, you need to operate ethically and you need to operate from a sound place, a place of sound decision making because the public has placed their confidence in you to do that.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, whether or not she wants to look at other things, she have a good retirement package.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
No,
Now we Yeah,
no,
absolutely. Speaking of retirement packages, we talked about the town manager for the town of Spring Lake. Let's talk about the city manager. I read recently they've gone through the review process, which is typically a very arduous process. It looked like this year it was not so arduous. It looked like it probably just kind of flowed very methodically, but it looks as if the city manager has received a 4% pay increase. What's the word on the curb and the gritty in the city about this increase? What are you hearing? Because there's always somebody's always saying something whenever he gets money.
well, when you look at it, Tish, the vote was 8-2. You know, the vote was
Dino
8-2.
Hondros and Johnny Dawkins voted against his pay. 8 members of council voted for his pay raise.
So when you look at it, Tish, let's just look at all the responsibility. It's a council manager form of government.
Absolutely.
That means that the manager managed the day-to-day operation. And the two that voted against it said the average household income is $48,000 a year, which is good. That's nothing. That is good.
No,
But
I
those,
let me say this. It's not good that the average household income in the city of Fayetteville is $48,000. That is not good, sir.
but I'm just saying overall, given when you look at minimum wages and and
Right.
the and
But
we
we
don't
need jobs
have
to come here. We need jobs to come
500.
here that are paying better wages than that. And we need our people. We need to get this city up to a better minimum
That's
median
not
income.
going to happen until you get certain infrastructures in place.
Absolutely.
We can talk about that at some later. We don't have natural gas. We don't have water throughout the county. We don't have the roads that can move our goods and service east, west, north, and south. So those kind of things
We're
uh,
hindered.
need to be in place to move us from a tier one to a tier two. But
Absolutely.
you have to look at the manager itself. The manager is on duty 367 days out of a year. He's
Out of
responsible.
365. Yeah. 20,
You know,
25 8. Yeah, not 24/7, 25 8.
he can,
Yeah.
he can't go on a vacation unless he carry the city, with him. And he also had to carry 1,500 employees. and
Absolutely.
and about and about 500 of those individuals are in the law. Is in the police department, either officer or non-enforcement officers. You know, then he had to cater to the city council to make sure whatever goals and policies that they set that he carry them out. So a 4% pay increase, yeah, is in other words, you ask Spring, what you ought to do is just have a conversation with Spring Lake. You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay
Okay.
for.
Spring Lake,
Tell you this is a crucial time for the city of Fayetteville because the city of Fayetteville, what council is concerned, and we talk about this all the time. This point has been driven home. We're the council,
mm,
2 employees, the city manager and the city attorney. The city attorney has just abdicated her position to go and serve as the city attorney. So they have already lost of their employee population, 50% of their employee population, and now they have to replace their. The last thing they need right now is to lose the historical data and the Father, give me the right word, the experience. I'll go with that word, the experience of their city manager, especially as critical as this, where they are facing some pretty large allegations from members of the council and some questions of ethical behavior where some of those members are concerned. So Mr. Floyd, I think that it's not only wise for them to give that pay raise. I will also say this, and this, there's no secret about this where I'm concerned. I think that Doug earns his keep. He earns every dollar that he makes through the city of Fayetteville because he is a very diligent and hardworking city manager, whether you agree the way that he does his job or not. And I'm going to tell you found to be extremely distasteful. As this conversation has been moving forward about the complaint that the chief of police has, the former chief of police has made, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, there are people who are dredging up the past of the city manager. And they're making this inference as if his past has something to do with this allegation, or like there's some correlation there. And I just think that that is terribly, it's just terribly, it's terribly unfortunate, because it takes me back to what I said about even with Beth Woods. There are people who have done things that they may not be very pleased about, but most certainly they are able to move forward from that. There has not been any scandal or any improper behavior that he has been tied to at all during his tenure here in the city of Fayetteville as the city manager. And so I think that as we move forward, we can most certainly, I think, Mr. Floyd, you and I agree that this pay raise is not only warranted, but is most certainly something that is not a far stretch for a city of our size.
It should have been 10-0. When you look at his road, his road is the financial responsibility of the city,
Absolutely.
and to make sure that the city carry out its budget and make sure that the city has a reserve to meet the state statute, which is 8%, and the city normally go about 12 or 13%. So when you look at
Absolutely.
all of that, and then you manage all of the federal dollars that come in, and you're talking about a 4% pay increase. I, I mean, but when the art council came down there and asked for their money, no problem. Okay,
Absolutely.
no problem.
Absolutely.
When the Civil War Museum asked for $6.6 million, no problem.
Absolutely.
But you're talking about a 4% raise for someone who who supervised 1,500 employees. Now look at the county, for instance. The county the county manager makes $270,000 a year. He has a workforce of 1,900. And so, these individuals has a lot of responsibility, that including the department, and then managing the council objective, managing the county board of commissioner objective, and even manage what you come to him or her for. Okay.
Right. Right.
So it's an endless it's an endless job. And I'm just saying that a 4% pay increase when all city employees got a 4%, and you want to give the city manager a 2% or
Right.
a 1%
Right.
bonus.
Right.
I mean, you know, come on, let's be real. Don't give
Absolutely.
me a bonus. Give me an increase in my salary, so when I get ready to retire, it can be compounded. You can
Absolutely.
keep the bonus. You can keep the bonus.
Absolutely. Keep your little funky bonus.
You can keep the bonus. Just give me an increase in my salary,
Yeah.
even if it's nothing but a 1% pay increase.
Yeah.
Give me that, and don't give me no bonus, because I can't add that towards my retirement.
Absolutely. That's the
But
difference though between it. That's critical thinking right there. That's critical thinking and leadership. And those are the types of conversations that it takes a critical thinker at the table to ensure I move. I think to some degree, it is very important to have those tenured people around the table to have that dialogue. Mr. Floyd, before we move forward, I want to highlight something. And it's very, to me, it's a small thing. And I want to start off by saying this, because I really believe, Mr. Floyd, that when you gave me the counsel as I was running for office my first term, it was the first time you had ever met me. We were in Dudu's shop, and you looked at me and you looked at my mother and you said, listen, if you have the spine of an earthworm, go home now. And you always speak in cryptic terms, but anybody with a little bit of sense, if they just stop and think for a minute, knows exactly what that means. And I laughed. I laughed that down in the gut laugh. I said, you trying to tell me, sir, that if I'm spineless, this is not for me, right? If I'm thin skinned and spineless. And you laughed, you chuckled, and you said, that's right. I want to say this to everybody who is incoming into this position. Don't be thin skinned and do not be spineless, because we are going to talk about you, and not just us. And when I say talk about, I mean discuss. This is not a petty little high school conversation we're having, Mr. Floyd. We're not backbiting in the back room, hoping you won't find out and trying to drag your character to make you look bad so that we can look good. We are having political discussion, and the purpose of this podcast is to make understanding the policy and the process of politics simpler. The reality of politics is that it is such that there are connections that are often inferred that are very real. When there are calls that are being made on somebody's behalf, when campaign finance reports almost mirror each other, that speaks to a connection. Now, Floyd, I'm going to say this. We got some comments on our YouTube page that I'm very thankful for because I always love when people are watching our program. And I love even more when they're watching and they're not afraid to let other people know that they're watching by commenting. So, first and foremost, let me say thank you. I would like to secondly say that I believe that there's some misunderstanding as to why we say the things we say. When we spoke last week about the similarities between the campaign of Mr. Malik Davis and the campaign of the mayor, it was not to defame Malik as a candidate. You can have commonalities with people and you can have a relationship with people politically without it defaming you. And to everybody who has responded on our Facebook page as if this was some defamation of character or some inappropriate characterization, I asked this question: why is it such a bad thing to be linked to the mayor? Why, in your estimation, do you feel the need to separate or distance your candidate from the what's wrong with the mayor? But I want to go through these comments because I think that I just want to they stand as the candidates campaign managers reflection back to our comments, and because they said they wanted to clarify misinformation, I just want to read them. I don't want to have a dialogue about them. There's no conversation necessary, but let me just read them very quickly, Floyd, real quick, real fast. We just gonna flow right through. The first comment is from Danielle Coaster, and it says Malik's hard work and dedication speaks for itself, and everyone does not possess those attributes, so the misinformation is not surprising. And then, as the fan turns, commented and says, we should comment with a very extensive knowledge of politics. You don't know my credentials, but I got them, I promise. And then, as the fan turns, commented and says, some call it popularity, some call it grace or purpose. And then Kingdom Trader commented and says, as Malik's campaign manager, I am thrilled to hear about the recognition of his accomplishments. However, I must respectfully correct any involvement of the mayor and Jonathan Charleston in his success. It's important to acknowledge that victory is the result of God and our team's unwavering efforts and dedication. Additionally, while Malik political arena committed to serving his community and fostering relationships, which has contributed significantly to his successes. As someone who is educate the community on political matters, I feel it's important to address any misinformation so the people will be properly informed. Have a blessed day. And then, as the fan turns, um, said, I mean, this is politics you're speaking of. This is politics you're speaking of. So those are the comments. I'm assuming that those are the clarifications to the misinformation, and we'll let that stand.
Let me
I'm
say
just
this before you,
go ahead.
you know, that is good. But I'm gonna say the same thing to Malik that I say to anyone that I talk to. If you have the backbone of an earthworm, stay out of politics. Either you're gonna be a leader, or you're gonna be a follower, or you're gonna advocate this vision that got you elected to the office in which you ran for. Now, I
Absolutely.
don't blame the mayor. If I can get me a cabinet that can work towards my goals, my vision that I see for the city, go for it. Go. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
I
at
mean,
all wrong with that.
do you think I'm gonna hire someone who
Do you think I'm
have
going to
a
support? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
that's
And
crazy?
I think that's the myth people have when they watch our. that because we highlight information, I think that they think that we're internalizing that as some unheard of absurd anomaly. The reality is we're highlighting to our constituency, our viewer base, the fact that this is politics. I said that at the end of the podcast last week. This is politics. This is the way the game is played. Here's the other thing, Mr. Floyd. At no point did we ever indicate that we believe that Malik had something to do with that. Because, see, people can work for you without you ever knowing. You may
Yeah,
just be going along to get along. People can be in the background pulling strings for you that you have no idea about. So it's very likely that we may be informing even hit the people that rocked with him of what was really happening in the background. Because I'm gonna tell y'all something. When we watched these different forums play out, I can give you a play-by-play of what the political pundits are thinking when they're watching these forums. There were some very impressive candidates who, by all intents and purposes, should be receiving funding and should be receiving this backing. And then there are some candidates who were just kind of basic. And that's just the reality of how a. But like I said, I appreciate y'all watching comments, and I appreciate you clarifying the misinformation. And most certainly, when we misstep, you let us know. We don't mind that. What I will be doing, Mr. Floyd, though, is I will be pulling the campaign finance reports and I'm going to go through them and I'm going to compare where folks. And I'm also going to be watching this next 2 years to see how it plays out.
well, that's the thing. Again, T, you have to look at the whole picture of that. Did he campaign? I'm in his district. Yes, he did. I mean, you find.
Absolutely.
I mean, either he or someone found, the financial resources to help him, because I think it was the North Carolina Naval Council Commission. Never
Oh yeah,
heard
the
of him
Home
before.
Builders
But
Association was behind the home builders were behind a lot of those ads. Like if you go and do some digging, it is my understanding that the home builders were behind a lot of that. But Mr. Floyd, and I said this 2 or 3 shows ago that boy was out there. That man was, excuse me, because he is a grown man. That man was out there and he was campaigning. I said
yeah,
that he was campaigning his
yeah,
behind off. He was all the places doing all of the things. You can't take that from him, nor are we trying to.
that's
But
what
it
I'm
does
saying.
not negate
I
two things
saw
can be true at the same time.
I saw him campaigning, but like I said, my concern of it is: are you going to advocate and push forward the goals in which you said that you want to do? Are you
Mr.
going to be
Floyd, what are the
follower?
you're in Mr. Davis's district. I'm not in his district. So
Yes, yes.
just on secondhand, what are the goals articulate he wanted to push through this in his first term as a councilman?
One is that he wants to form, you know, certain coalitions. Okay, that's what he wants to do, and I believe he said something about the homeless. You know,
So we should be
uh,
expecting to see legislation come forward from him regarding forming these coalitions and regarding the homeless. That's what we should be
yeah, I
watching for.
mean, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and then too, want to see what kind of relationship is he gonna have with the council in order to move his agenda forward, and that's key. T. That's key. I mean, can you establish a relationship with your colleagues there? And it talked about, he served as the vice president of the Democrat board of fantasy world. I mean, fantasy children fantasy museum. And we're talking about a leader for the favor for the future. His ads say, "Vote for a bright future." So, I want to see, is he going to put all these things, you, you know, uh, you know, on a sound plan wherein that he can negotiate with the council members in order to push forward his goals. He is an advocate for a better field. I mean, all of these are very generic terms
Right.
in
That is the point,
and what
but I think that's the sticking point for me because see, when I had to go before the Realtors Association or when I went before the the group that Yvonne Kinston was over before she was on council, where they want to know, if you support the workers. When I had to go before these people, I couldn't go with vague concepts. I had to be prepared with very, very concrete, not non-abstract points, and I had to know my stuff in order to receive those endorsements, and I did receive them. So I get it, but in order to get those dollars, there often has to be something other than just being able to demonstrate that you've been in your community, serving your community. Because
Well,
everybody that runs for office has a background of some sort.
I mean, it mentioned that he is a dynamic leader. Take that same leadership role on the council and be transparent and on the council so that
Yeah, I'm
people
very
can know
excited.
that. I mean,
Malik Davis is his tenure
I
as a
am too.
council. Absolutely. I'm very excited about that. And make no mistake, like I think that I think that people perceive us saying that Mitch was mentoring or helping him, whether it be one-on-one or from the sideline or from the back. And to be very clear, we never said Jonathan Charleston was helping him. We talked about Jonathan Charleston in other regards. I can see how you could make that correlation. But I'll say this. I think that we're inferring that as it's such a bad thing, things that we've discussed regarding Mitch. But unless they believe those things to be true, it's most certainly not a bad thing to have the mayor help you with your campaign, especially when you have a
If I'm
relationship.
running for office, I want help anywhere that I can get.
Period. Period.
Anywhere I need the help.
From somebody with an unscrupulous character that could
My
make me
mother
look
does that.
bad.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not going
exactly.
to that. I mean, he is
Like high
young.
five, you nailed it. If you can
I mean,
help me
he is
win,
young.
help me win.
That's what I mean to you. I mean, I'm campaigning. I'm campaigning, and I need all the help that I can
That's
get.
right.
I mean, each person has a network within its own self.
That's
So I
right.
cannot see you, Keith, walking down the street, and I don't speak to you. I don't know. I mean, you
You
may
don't
have a
know who I
close
know.
knit family that you,
Yeah.
yeah, you see. So
And I'm
I'm
gonna
going
tell
to
you
speak to
this
you.
is,
I might not want to speak to you.
but I'm gonna speak.
Yeah.
Say this, and then I'm gonna be done with this because we don't know what kind of elected official he's gonna be until he's elected, and I don't want to belabor this because this
Well,
ain't
he's
even
elected.
about.
I just want to see he is
Yeah,
elected.
but no,
I
what I
just
mean
want
when
to
I
see
say, I mean
what
like
is
sworn in and until he takes that oath.
yeah,
But this is the part that
yeah.
I'm trying to say. I don't think that it have taken and made those comments about Malik because they really didn't have anything to do with him aside from the fact that he's the recipient of what we believe this assistance to be. It has nothing to do with him unless he makes it about him, at which point then we'll see that. We'll see that. And I think we are just waiting with bated breath to see what this council is going to show. So, Mr. Davis, Councilman-elect Davis, I am anticipating good service from you. I'm anticipating for you to, flesh out those generic terms that you put on your campaign flyer and make them something very concrete and very real for your
He
community.
can
I'm
do
excited.
it. He can do it. He can do it if he used the skill set that he say that he possessed. And
Absolutely.
remember one thing, Malik. Remember one thing, Teach, and I say to you, you have one vote. Make your one vote count for your.
Everybody don't make agreements that you don't understand because that takes us back to the that said that they didn't know that you were affected, that you don't understand. Read your packet. I say this to everybody that's going on council. Read your packets. Think for yourself. Be your own brain. Be your own mind. Don't tell anybody what you anticipate your vote will be because you never know what piece of information may come along to change your mind. Do your own work. Be form relationships with your coworkers, but do not allow relationships to make you make bad decisions. And last but not least, don't fight every battle. Don't feel like you got to get everybody
Pick your
told because you
battle.
think that they said
Pick your
something about
battle.
you. Pick your battles
Pick your
because
battle.
this really is not even important. Like your people really shouldn't. Well, I ain't gonna tell you what your people should do, but I'm gonna just say it's a lot of stuff that people said about me. And I just was quiet because it really didn't matter. Because at the end of the day, sir, you're the one who's going to get to prove or disprove everybody right or wrong. That's what you get to do. We just get to be the beneficiary of the decisions that you make, and we get to watch you make them, and we get to talk about them because that's what this is about.
Well, one guy told me when I went to Raleigh, he said, "Floyd, don't argue with a person that buy ink by the barrels."
Because they will write about you until they can't write about you no more.
Don't argue with a person that buy ink by the barrel. But that,
Ah, yeah, but we
you
we love you, young man, and we're rooting for. Look, like I said on the last podcast, we're rooting for your success because your success, if you do things, success of this community. So look, we're rooting for you, but we are watching because that is what we are supposed to do.
he can be a good, effective young leader, but he must remember that he has one vote and use that one vote wisely.
Absolutely. Me, Mr. Floyd, I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna. It's funny to me that I thought about when the last council was elected. There was like two people that we talked about right up front, and then we ain't talked about them no more. Like, and when I say insignificant, I don't mean that as if to diminish their person, but I'm just saying their voices on the council have not been very. And I think that sometimes people don't understand that. Like, we may have one thing that we say about you, but unless you just show up and keep, like, you either got to be phenomenal or you got to be really blowing it for you to make our radar. Because if you're just riding the line and you're just going along to get along, it's really nothing for us to talk about. And that's, I guess, the point that I will leave every politician with. If you don't want nobody talking about you, don't do nothing. Don't do anything good, do anything bad. Just blend in with the crowd and warm your seat because they won't talk about you in that instance. They won't say a word. But you gonna get talking about it. Some people really gonna drag you for filth for no reason at all. Like, they're gonna say horrible things about your character, your mama, your daddy, your dog. I mean, they gonna talk about your color, they just gonna drag you for filth. Now let to rewind. Fast forward, let's talk about these allegations. Mr. Floyd, how long ago was it that the Up Zone began to tell our audience that there was a complaint that was floating involving the former chief of police, Gina Hawkins, against the city of Fayetteville? That's been at least 3 months.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
August, October, right? Because we in November now. So it's two, almost 3 months. Floyd, why is it that this didn't come out until after the election? Because if we knew about it and we was talking about it, surely somebody else had to know about it. Or are we just that plugged in?
Well, you got to look at Tisha. The allegation said no. I mean August the 4th, but there was discussion before August the 4th in order to draft the letter that went out on August the 4th. Now
Mm-hmm.
the community just heard about it from WRAL, and then in the Fayetteville Observer, but later on. But teach the beauty of that, it was sent by U.S. mail.
It got lost
And
somewhere, huh?
there's
It
no
got
guarantee. There's no guarantee when you send some U.S. mail. That's why they say snail mail. It's just good that
lost.
the city received it.
Yeah,
I
that's.
mean,
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna say
I'm
this,
just
and me, you, and anybody else who is really in this political arena, we all know the real deal. The real deal is this did not release before the election, so that it would not be a topic of conversation during the election. Because those who were named were Mario Benavente, the Mayor Mitch Colvin, and Johnny Dawkins. Those are the ones who are named in the complaint. And but this is not a small little complaint. This is a major complaint. And I want to remind everybody, because I was on council when this happened. When all of that stuff happened at Island Flavor, Flavor Island, whatever that restaurant was, the council was trying to, and when I say the council, I mean the body, but the body in general was being called into closed session to have conversations about the conduct and newspaper, this fake news, all these articles, and they were very inflammatory, and they were almost trying to insinuate that like the mayor and the chief of police And I was like, y'all, that couldn't be further from the truth because those of us who paid attention knew that there was contention between the mayor and the I'm saying. So, and it
Yeah.
wasn't the kind of contention where you trying to hide a relationship contention. It was contention. Then they thoroughly 3 investigations, if I'm mistaken, couple of ethics investigation and like another investigation. That council at that time wanted to push for another investigation after there was already video evidence. They were on a witch hunt for this woman. They were trying to find something against her, but they never investigated Mitch. So she was named and he was named, but there was never any digging into him. And so it was like very unbalanced, right? So then fast forward, she's exonerated of all of that. Everything's cleared. There's evidence that nothing happened. Like there's footage of her vehicle because this was about a vehicle and about some drinks and about like all this stuff. There's footage that supports her truth. Fast forward to sometime later, and now it's like everybody is calling for the city. Remember, we always say, who are the 2 employees of the city council? City attorney, city manager.
That's it.
Mr. Floyd, they can't fire the chief of police, but oh, that didn't stop them from being in Doug's ear and being on his neck about wanting to fire her. And I just remember thinking to myself, and I even said it to somebody. I won't tell y'all who I said it to, because I don't want to tell I get called on, and I don't know. I can't tell everything I know in this instance. But I'll tell you this: I was having a conversation with, and I said, "Y'all gonna have to do something." And I know that something is in the works because works is that when you have somebody who works under you, and your boss is saying this person needs to go, it's gonna be you. And when you know that, you start make sure it ain't you. And I remember
Well,
that we had go ahead.
now, now, there was one council member,
Mhm.
my understanding, because they wanted the city manager to go,
Yeah.
but one council member would not agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pressure on one end. Then at the same time, you have the same council that's telling me because of some leaders downtown think that I should have used my force, and which would prove that she was right on the stand down, of her
I still
officers.
say I look, I was on council and I still say she made the right decision. She made the
Well,
right
I
decision.
mean, but when you look at the facts that was laid out, I spent some time in that field.
That's
She
right.
had laid out some facts. Now, number one, the video. Number two, the hearing of a comment that was made at a particular function, and then the beauty that she did in her complaint. She said to the human resource person that your complaint, your question, are discriminatory,
That's
and it
right.
has an adverse effect on me. What she was saying,
That's
and then
right.
she followed back up with a text message to that person, and the attorney and the person who investigated that said that the human resource person needed a little bit more EEO
Train.
training,
That's
EOT
right.
training,
That's right.
you know, and
But
because
I mean,
that means
and Floyd, and I'll say this because I believe that, and my question was, well, dang, who leaked the letter? Because that's abnormal in most instances. That's abnormal. But the letter was leaked.
no, I mean look at it. WRAL requested. I mean, how they got it, how they, you know, uh, well, that there's a
that
reporter.
remains to be seen. That remains
Well,
to be seen.
the reporter there is a reporter here that works for WRAL. You
Hmm.
know, now that reporter could have received similar information that we have been talking about and made a request for that information. Okay, so
But
this
but
one is for the
but this is the thing, Floyd. They would have never given that up because that's a legal matter and it's a personnel issue. So the city would have never voluntarily given that letter up. That letter was leaked by somebody. That letter,
what
they
I'm saying.
those
Now it was
when
based
they
upon
give counsel,
a
hmm,
request by WRL. Okay, now I'm not
right?
saying leak or whatever, but WRAL requested that. How they found out, like you said, maybe in a leak or whatever, but they requested the letter. Okay, and
So here's the last thing that I want to just kind of make people think about as they think about this. If this, because I've seen, Johnny Dawkins has been dragged about the way that he has talked to, he has been censured and he has been reprimanded. Now, while the mayor censured, because you will never be able to get 6 votes to censure the council, especially on the council that but there's still video documentation of bad behavior and bad communication. But with that being said, do you think that this story, if the mayor was not included in the story? Do you think just Johnny Dawkins and this Democratic community could rally against that white Republican and his bad behavior toward that Black woman, that this would be a bigger story than it is right now?
well, it depends on who you talk with. Chief.
Okay, because if you ask me, I'm gonna say yes. I think it would have been all over the place by now.
Mm,
They would have
It
splashed
depends.
this everywhere by now.
It depends on who you talk with at any given time on any given conversation. But
Hmm.
but the thing of it is whether or not she would file a EEO or C complaint or
Hmm.
not, or with the city try to mediate. Doesn't make
I
any
think it'll
difference. Your
settle. I
taxpayer,
think it'll.
your taxpayer
I have
dollars
a feeling
is anyway.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to settle because there to warrant all parties involved to want to just go ahead
Doesn't make any difference. Your
and
taxpayer dollars will take care of it. So either way, it's your taxpayer dollar.
yeah.
I mean, but it's best to
But kudos,
shorten
listen,
the
from me,
taxpayer
kudos
dollar.
to Chief Hawkins for standing up for herself in this way. I'll be very honest with you. It made me very proud of her to see her defend her right to be treated ethically and fairly. And I think, listen, when you see that these people wouldn't even let her leave future employers and block her from getting a job, like, come on now. She's gone. Let her live. Let her live and do her thing.
Well, the key thing as an EEO person, the key thing that we look at is what a reasonable minded person would assume.
Hmm.
That's what we look at. And then again, from that particular standpoint of view, and what the EEOC said do from the beginning is one is conciliation is at the beginning and at the end. At any point in time, there can be a conciliation effort made to make that person whole. What it means to make that person whole, that's up to that person
Right.
there. So I think that from a standpoint of view, then it goes through all the hiring the outside counsel to pay for what 3, 2, 3, 3, represent three attorneys are there, but the attorney that had some involvement with the letter indicated that it may be a conflict on his part
Right.
there. But at one point in time, I heard it say on the council that was given by at a council meeting is that the attorney for one of the members on the council that there is no conflict of interest.
Yeah.
But
Such an
he
interesting
represents
dynamic.
he represents PWC and he also
The
represents
housing
the
authority, the housing authority
yeah, but it's no conflict. I mean, what
used
you
to
have
be
to
for Spring Lake.
yes, I mean, so So you look
Dude
at
must
that.
be ice cold when it comes. Look, he must be the baddest attorney in the city of Fayetteville in the state of North Carolina, baby. He must be ice cold.
He don't do it. Put it like this here. I commend him because he know how to get clients, and that's
Period.
the responsibility of an attorney.
That's right. Keep
When
them
I
books
get
going.
clients,
That's right. And win cases. And apparently, I mean, I guess maybe that's what's going on. Listen, you can't knock nobody's hustle. Only God, look what they say, only God can judge. Only God sits on the throne. He sits high and he looks low and he's got it under control. So I'm not even worried about any of that. It is what it
I
is.
mean, I commend people who do their job.
Yes.
I mean, that is, I mean, if you're a car salesman,
Sell
I
them
commend you
cars.
for selling cars.
That's right. That's right.
You're not a car salesman if you sell one a month.
That's right. Yeah, that's a hobby.
Yeah, you
That's
see,
right.
you do what your skill set provide for you to do, and I commend anyone for that. Although we talk about this on our program, but I commend if you're a switchboard operator, I commend you for being a switchboard operator. Okay, be the best, be the
Do what
best you
you
can
do.
be.
Yeah, do what you do. Do what you do. Yeah, yeah. What you want to leave our listeners with today?
Well, I think you filed for office on December the 4th. There, and I talked with George Reese, and he is going to come on our program right before the closing, which I think is like December the 15th, somewhere around that way,
Okay.
at noon. And he's going to give us a update on the list of candidates there, whether it's Democrat, Republican. Just give us insight from his particular perspective, not from mine, but for his particular. And George Brees is that political Google.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're gonna
Listen, it's
file.
always,
You're gonna file.
yeah, it's always such a pleasure to be able to have these conversations. Mr. Floyd, these at nighttime. Look, we might need to record at night every now and then.
Oh, well, you, we have to do
No,
it. We have to
no, we
do it.
yeah, we gonna stay on time. I'm a honor the time.
No, but it. You know, I'm just happy that Malik person listened to our podcast. I
For
mean,
sure, for
it
sure.
makes me feel good that our base is expanding, and that's good. That's good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every at one by one, one by one. And I'll say this. I know that there was an invitation to sit down and meet in person. I will have to respectfully decline. I am extremely, extremely scheduled right now. I have a lot on my plate and I try not to overburden myself with unnecessary meetings. And it's not necessary for you to prove your credentials to me. I'll take you at your word. And I'm glad that, I'm glad you're tied in and you understand. Look, each one teach one. That's all we can do. I love y'all. Listen, I'll say this in closing, Mr. Floyd. Had a conversation with somebody today, and it really was impressive to me what the Holy Spirit reminded me, and that is that we each need to have our own baseline, and you need to be able to define what your baseline is. How do you determine what's right? How do you determine what's wrong? And it shouldn't be just based upon how you feel or your emotions. You need to have a tangible, concrete, evidentiary method of being able to say, this is my baseline. For me, it's the word of God. And I just continue to stand on that. I'm not trying to convince anybody else. I don't need anybody trying to convince me that what I believe is right or wrong. I believe what I believe. Believe what you believe, because at the end of the day, Mr. Floyd, we all gonna have to stand on what we believe.
And
This day nowadays saying I'm standing on business. I'm standing on business. I mean what I meant, and it is what it is.
don't forget about that master thing that I always talk to you about. Okay.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can. Yeah,
it, a lot of time we get trapped into that, so in that your master will think well of you.
yeah. You
Slave
better
to your
choose.
master.
Look, you better
So if your
choose who
master,
your master is. Yeah, you better choose your master.
well,
Mr.
ask
Floyd,
me
you
and I
listen.
tell you about that.
Absolutely. Mr. Floyd, do you want to say it tonight? This
No, no, no. I gave up that. I mean, because I seen that if you don't make comments about things, uh, you, you, you know, you just playing follow the leader. So I just had to change that. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you said that because there apparently was a little bit of misunderstanding about something that I said about somebody who I like very much, and that's former Senator Deviere. I think that some of our listeners may have perceived what I was saying last week. See, y'all, this is all about perception, and I'm glad y'all give us a chance to address this stuff. May have perceived what I was saying as if I was saying that because he was quiet, he was complicit. What I was saying was because he's quiet, he's smart in that he understands that if there's ever anything politically that he desires to do moving forward, that sometimes it behooves him to just watch, observe, and be quiet about it. Because when you begin to speak up and speak out, you do make enemies.
Well,
And
Tish, if I may say so,
yes,
you're correct. You're correct. Because I was in one district and I was drawn into another district.
Mr. Lucas,
And
no, he was
because
wrong for
I,
that.
because I speak, I speak.
Because you say what you say. That's
Yes.
right. You are
And
not
so,
afforded the same protections as somebody who may not say anything. And
I
so,
mean,
on that note, Mr. Floyd, and we love y'all and we appreciate y'all for watching. And I'm gonna go get ready for my date tomorrow.
enjoy.
Thank you, sir. Talk to y'all later. Let me go ahead and turn this camera off so I can play this outro. We'll catch